My toxic parents didn't just try to ruin my marriage. They tried to humiliate us in front of everyone we knew. They told our church my husband was unstable. They told my in-laws I'd made a mistake. At a family dinner, my father stood up and said I'd married down and would come crawling back. They thought they were untouchable because of their reputation. What they didn't know was that I had screenshots, recordings, and one secret they'd spent 20 years hiding, and I was done staying quiet. I met James at a coffee shop 3 years ago. He was wearing a worn-out sweater and reading a dog-eared novel. He wasn't rich, he wasn't powerful. He was just kind. To my parents, that was the problem. His family has no money, my mother said the first time she met him. No connections, no status. What will people think? I tried to explain that I didn't care what people thought, that James made me happy, that his kindness mattered more than any bank account. She looked at me like I was speaking another language. The wedding was small, just a few friends, his family, a backyard ceremony with fairy lights and potluck food. My parents came, but didn't smile once. My father shook James's hand like he was touching something dirty. For 2 years, we built our life quietly. Small apartment, secondhand furniture, late nights laughing about nothing. It wasn't fancy, but it was ours. Then, my parents decided to destroy it. It started with whispers. My mother called the church secretary and expressed concern about James's mental health. She said I'd called her crying, said he was unstable, said I was scared. None of it was true, but the secretary believed her. Next, she called my mother-in-law, told her I'd made a huge mistake marrying James, said I was already looking for a way out, said their family should prepare for the shame of a divorce. My mother-in-law called me crying, asked if it was true. I had no idea what she was talking about. Then came the dinner. It was my father's birthday. We were invited to their house, a beautiful colonial in the wealthy part of town. James wore his only suit. I wore a dress I'd bought on sale. We walked in holding hands, already nervous. The dining room was full. Aunts, uncles, cousins, family friends. 20 people seated around a long, polished table, my parents at the head, like king and queen. Dinner was tense but polite. Small talk, strained smiles. I started to relax, thinking maybe it would be okay. Then my father stood up. He tapped his glass with a spoon. The room went quiet. "I want to say a few words," he began, "about family, about choices, about the people we let into our lives." I felt James's hand tense under the table. "My daughter," my father continued, looking directly at me, "has always been impulsive. She follows her heart instead of her head, and sometimes that leads her to make decisions that don't reflect well on this family." The room was silent. No one moved. "She married a man with no future, no money, no prospects. She married down, plain and simple. And someday, when she comes crawling back, we'll be here to pick up the pieces." Someone gasped. My aunt covered her mouth. James sat perfectly still beside me. I looked at my mother. She was smiling, actually smiling. My father raised his glass. "To family, to the ones who actually belong in it." Everyone drank. Everyone except me and James. I sat there for a long moment, feeling 20 pairs of eyes on me, feeling the weight of their pity, their judgment, their satisfaction. Then I looked at James. His face was pale, but his eyes were steady. He squeezed my hand under the table. I took a breath, stood up slowly. "Dad," I said, my voice calm, "before we go, I want to thank you." He frowned. "Thank me for what?" "Because for showing everyone here exactly who you are." I reached into my bag and pulled out my phone. "See, I've been recording our conversations for months, ever since Mom started calling the church, spreading lies about James, ever since you told my in-laws I was looking for a way out." My mother's face went pale. "I have it all, every lie, every whisper, every cruel thing you've said about the man I love." I held up my phone so everyone could see. "And I also have something else, a recording of a conversation you had 20 years ago, the one where you convinced the family business partners to cut out your own brother so you could take full control. the one where you threatened to ruin him if he didn't sign. My father's face drained of color. I've been quiet my whole life. I've let you control me, shame me, make me feel small, but you picked the wrong person to humiliate in front of everyone who matters. I put my phone back in my bag and took James's hand. Enjoy your dinner. I'll be in touch about the recording. We walked out. The door closed behind us. The night air hit my face like freedom. James didn't say anything. He just held my hand as we walked to the car. When we got inside, he finally spoke. What recording? 20 years ago? I started the engine, smiled. There isn't one. He stared at me. Not yet, but he doesn't know that. The next morning, my phone exploded. Texts from cousins, calls from aunts, a voicemail from my mother that started with, "How dare you?" and ended with tears. I ignored all of them. James made coffee. We sat at our tiny kitchen table, the morning sun warming our faces, and just breathed. "What now?" he asked. Now we wait. For what? For them to show us exactly how scared they are. It didn't take long. 3 days later, my father showed up at our apartment. Not the big house, not a phone call. He came in person, standing in our dingy hallway in his expensive suit, looking wildly out of place. I opened the door, didn't invite him in. Maya. His voice was different, soft, careful. The voice of a man who was suddenly very aware he wasn't in control. "We need to talk." "About what?" "About the recording. About what you think you heard." I leaned against the doorframe, crossed my arms. "I don't think anything, Dad. I know. I know what you did to Uncle Mark. I know how you built this family's reputation on lies and manipulation. I've known for years." His face flickered. Confusion? Fear? Hard to tell. "I was there, you know, the night you made him sign. I was 8 years old, hiding at the top of the stairs. I heard everything." He stared at me like he'd never seen me before. Maybe he hadn't. "You've spent my whole life controlling me, making me feel small, making me feel like I needed you to survive. But I'm not 8 anymore. I'm not 20. I'm a grown woman with a husband who loves me and a life you can't touch." "Maya, please, if that recording gets out, then your reputation crumbles. The business partners see who you really are. The church sees the man behind the suit. Everyone sees the truth." His eyes went wet, actual tears. Whether real or performance, I couldn't tell. "What do you want?" he whispered. "Money? The house? Just tell me what you want and I'll give it to you." I looked at this man who had terrorized me my entire life, who tried to destroy my marriage, who stood in front of 20 people and called my husband worthless. "I want you to apologize." He blinked. "What?" "I want you to apologize to James, publicly, in front of the same people you humiliated him in front of. I want you to tell the church the truth. I want you to call my in-laws and admit you lied." His face hardened. "I can't do that." "Then we're done here." I started to close the door. "Wait!" His hand shot out, stopping the door. Okay, I'll do it. Just give me the recording." I smiled. "Here's the thing, Dad. There's no recording." His face went blank. "I was 8 years old. I didn't have a phone. I didn't have a recorder. I just had my ears and my memory. But you didn't know that. You still don't know what I actually have." He stood there, mouth opening and closing, no sound coming out. "I don't have a recording of that night, but I have recordings of every conversation we've had for the past month. Every lie, every threat, every cruel thing you've said. And I have witnesses, 20 of them, all sitting at your dinner table watching you humiliate me." I stepped back into my apartment. "So here's the deal. You're going to apologize to James, publicly, sincerely. You're going to stop spreading lies about us. You're going to treat us with basic human decency. And in return, I won't share those recordings with everyone you know." His face cycled through emotions: anger, fear, defeat. "And if I don't?" I smiled, that same calm smile I'd been practicing my whole life. Then I ruin you the way you tried to ruin me. I closed the door, locked it, leaned against it for a moment, heart pounding. James came up behind me, wrapped his arms around my waist. "That was incredible," he whispered. "I'm just getting started." The church doors closed behind us. James held my hand as we walked to the car. Neither of us spoke. Neither of us needed to. My father's words hung in the air. The apology, the tears, the way he looked at me like he was seeing me for the first time. I didn't trust it. Not yet. For 2 weeks, I waited for the other shoe to drop, for my mother to call and say it was all a performance, for my father to go back to his old ways, for the whispers to start again. They didn't. Instead, my mother showed up at my apartment on a Tuesday afternoon. No warning, no call, just her, standing in the hallway, holding a cardboard box. I opened the door. Didn't invite her in. "Mom?" Maya. She looked older, smaller. The perfect hair was streaked with gray. The manicured hands gripped the box like it was the only thing holding her up. "Can I come in?" I stepped aside. She walked into my living room, looked around at the secondhand furniture, the mismatched dishes, the life I'd built without her. Her face was unreadable. She set the box on my coffee table. "These are yours." I opened it. Photo albums, old ones, pictures of me as a baby, as a toddler, as a gangly teenager with braces and bad hair, pictures of my grandparents, my great-aunts, people I barely remembered. "There's more," she said. "Jewelry from your grandmother, letters your father wrote me when we were dating, things I've been saving for years." I looked up at her. "Why now?" She sat on my couch, slowly, like her bones hurt. "Because I'm tired. Because I watched your father stand in front of everyone and apologize, and I saw something I've never seen before." "What?" "Humility. Real humility. He meant it, Maya. Every word." I sat across from her, said nothing. "I've spent 20 years building this family's reputation, protecting it, polishing it, making sure everyone saw us the way I wanted them to see us." She laughed bitterly. "And in all that time, I never once asked if you were okay, if you were happy, if you needed anything." Tears filled her eyes. Real ones. "When your father stood up at that dinner and said those things about James, I didn't stop him. I sat there and smiled, because that's what I always did. I was so busy protecting the image that I forgot to protect my own daughter." I didn't speak, didn't move. "I'm not asking for forgiveness," she continued. "I don't deserve it, but I needed you to know that I see it now. I see what we did to you. I see what I let happen." She stood up, walked to the door. "The jewelry is worth a lot. Sell it if you want. Keep it if you want. It's yours." She paused with her hand on the handle. "Your grandmother would be proud of you, Maya. Prouder than I've ever been. Prouder than I knew how to be." She left. The door clicked shut. I sat there for an hour, maybe 2, just staring at that box. James came home to find me on the couch, the photo album spread around me. "Your mom was here?" I nodded. He sat beside me, looked at the pictures, picked up one of me and my grandmother, both of us laughing at something forgotten. "She's right, you know. Your grandma would be proud." I leaned into him, let myself cry. The next month was strange, quiet. My mother called sometimes, brief conversations about nothing. The weather, work, did I need anything? I kept them short, but didn't hang up. My father sent a letter, handwritten, which surprised me. He apologized again, but this time it felt different. Less like a performance, more like he'd actually sat with what he'd done. I didn't respond, but I didn't throw it away either. Then came Sunday. We were at church, same pew, same routine. James beside me, holding my hand. The service was almost over when my mother walked in. She never came to church. Too busy, too important, too above it. She sat in the back row, alone, didn't look at me. After the service, I walked to her. James stayed back. "Mom?" She looked up. Her eyes were red. "I've been coming here for 3 weeks," she said quietly, "just sitting in the back, listening." "Why?" She stood up, took my hands. "Because I need to change, really change, and I don't know how to do it alone." I looked at this woman, the one who let my father humiliate me, the one who sat silent for years, who chose reputation over her own daughter, but also the woman who brought me my grandmother's photos, who apologized without being asked, who was standing in a church, crying, asking for help. "Come sit with us next time," I said. She looked up, hope flickering. "Really?" "Really. James makes great Sunday breakfast. You can come early." She laughed, a real one. "I'd like that." 6 months passed. Slowly, awkwardly, something started to grow. My mother came for Sunday breakfast every week. She and James talked about books and politics and stupid reality shows. They laughed together, actually laughed. My father came sometimes. It was stiff and uncomfortable and nothing like a real family, but it was something. One Sunday, after breakfast, my mother pulled me aside. "I want you to know something," she said. "I'm not the same person I was. I'm never going to be the mother you deserved. I can't go back and fix what I broke." I nodded. "But I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to be better. For you, for James, for whatever comes next." She hugged me, tight and real. I hugged her back. "I know, Mom. I know." That night, James and I sat on our balcony. Same city lights, same quiet peace. "Do you forgive her?" he asked. I thought about it. Really thought. Maybe not all the way, but I'm not holding on to it anymore. That's forgiveness. I leaned into him. Then I guess that's what it is. He kissed my head. We watched the city glow. My parents tried to ruin my marriage. They tried to humiliate me. They tried to break me. Instead, I broke the pattern. I broke the cycle. I built something real with someone who actually saw me. And somewhere across town, in that big colonial house, my parents were learning to live with what they'd done. That wasn't my problem anymore. I was free. Would you have let them back in? Comment below. Can people really change, or do they just learn to hide better? Subscribe for more stories about toxic family, healing, and choosing yourself.